Great. Well, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure and honor. And I, let's see, I am originally from Kansas City, and I've been here in the Sacred Valley for 9 years. So it's been a long time. And that's where you and I met, just to let the listeners know that we met here. And so now, I live here with my partner and our three cats, and you can probably see the different style of roof behind me. So we have an adobe house with stones and a thatched roof. So it's been amazing to be here. I really enjoy it.
So again, thank you so much for being part of this. This is my first interview for the Stories of Transformation series that I'm going to be doing for I Am the Guru. And you have an amazing story. I mean, you have many things that have occurred for you in life, and we could talk for hours about all these things that have occurred for you that have provided opportunities for transformation in your life. But today we're going to focus on something very specific.
Yeah. So the story of transformation I want to talk about today is my sister's suicide. So in January of 2013, she chose to end her life, and she had struggled with depression for about 10 years. So it was, the writing was on the wall a bit. I mean, I had really definitely been on my spiritual path for a while. By that point, I had been, sitting with ayahuasca for many years. By that time, I had been through many 10-day silent meditation retreats, but there was still, I feel like when she passed away, there was like a depth that opened up. There was literally as if the fake floor had dropped beneath me, and then there was a whole other new depth of being, and it was very tangible to me. It was very obvious, and I could just feel that I was never going to be the same again, and that the depth of what I was going through, understanding the death process and looking at the death of a very close loved one, and also too of a suicide, which is still so taboo in our culture. It was just so intense and layered, and I knew that I would have compassion like I had never known before, and that I would be able to understand people's hard journeys to a depth that I couldn't have done before. So, for me too, like in the process of her letting go of her physical form, really, I had a vision one day of, like, I was holding this horse, the reins, the reins of a horse. And I was trying to keep it anchored into this, it was rearing up. It was wanting to, what is that called when a horse, like when they get off their front legs?
Yeah, sure.
So, but I was holding it by the reins on the ground, and I was keeping it anchored. And so I realized that was a way that spirit was communicating to me and my sister's spirit, that I was really anchoring her into this world, and my spirit was really holding her here. And I felt like the power of this horse was so strong that I knew I was holding it for the time being, but I knew I couldn't do that long term. Like there was no way it would win. So I remember thinking, like, I have to let go, and I have to trust, and I have to allow this horse to be wild and free and untamed and unanchored. So in that moment, I let go, and I made a conscious decision, a conscious choice that I was going to trust whatever happened, and that it wasn't my choice what happened to her life. And I ultimately had to honor whatever she decided. because for, you know, and I know there's many different situations with people's suicides. And I know that there's many different stories and emotions. Like some people really end their life with a lot of guilt, or they end their life in a lot of anger or despair. But I felt like for whatever reason, my sister was very conscious of what she was doing. And she was very, it was very thought out on many levels. And also it was, she was just done. It was like she was just done at the party of life, and she wanted to go home, and she'd given it her best shot. And she was like, you know, like, don't judge me for wanting to go home. And so ultimately that is the biggest thing. A lot of people were so surprised at how well I took her death. And it was because, a month or so before she died, that I was able to accept this could be a very real outcome. And there's nothing I can do, and I have to surrender to it. I can do what I can hold space and do what I can to help her. But ultimately it's not up to me. And also it's like, it has to be her choice to want to stay. And I have to just, you know, my only job is to love her through this process and to trust. And so because I came to that acceptance, it was much easier once it happened.
So like, what are some things that maybe inspired you following that experience in your life? Like what were some of the results of that experience? I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like to say that my sister left me with a lot of parting gifts. Like, so, like, you know, energetic spiritual gifts. And one of them was, at her funeral. Well, first of all, when I got the phone call here in Peru from my mom, late at night. And she said, you know, Julie's missing. And we knew that she was suicidal. So we were all like, this is not good. So, you know, I immediately, you know, closed my eyes and tuned in and what I like to say is like started this GPS search for her. And like, where are you? Like, okay, you need to call home ASAP, or like, you need to let me know. And so, so the intuitive messages that I received was, I knew she was gone. I knew she had succeeded this time and left her body. And I could feel the bullet point accuracy. I could feel this direct, like like it was not going to miss. And she ended up in that time, shooting herself. And so I was also receiving a message of like, she's gone, and she got, like, she did it. Like it was, and I didn't pinpoint necessarily gun, but then when I found out that it was a gun, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I could feel the bullet point accuracy. So then, I did find out, then I tried to go back to sleep. I was scheduled to fly to Mexico the very next day. So I was like, well, I mean, I should probably try to get some sleep. I don't know, you know, but of course I couldn't sleep. I just laid there in bed with my eyes closed. And so then I started having all these thoughts about what I would say at her funeral and what I would do. Very elaborate. Like it was very clear. And then my eyes popped open, and I was like, these are not my thoughts. Like I then was like, wait a second. I'm not generating these thoughts. This is not a daydream of mine. These are given to me. So then I was like, my sister is giving these to me, her spirit. So then my eyes popped open, and then I closed them again, and I looked through my third eye, and then she jumped on my bed. Her spirit did. So I'm seeing this through my third eye. And she said, she was like a kid at Christmas. Like she was like how she was on Christmas morning when she would come and wake me up, like, come on, get up, let's open up the presents. And I'm like, I'm tired. And she's like, come on. So, so she was like, so I told her, I said, what are you doing here? I don't know you're dead yet. And I want 2 more hours to believe that you're still alive, even though I knew she was.
Yeah.
I was like, I am not ready yet to accept this reality. I'm almost there. I need 2 more hours. So then she said, but Denise, there's going to be so many beautiful things that will come out of this. And I said, okay, well, I need 2 more hours. So I got up, went outside. So when I went outside and I saw the moon, and I started weeping, and just knew that she was gone, and started the grieving process. But I could also feel all the angelic support around me. I could feel her support around me. And so that it was, so my point to the story is that she was showing me, like, one of the biggest gifts she gave me in her parting was that, that I can channel and that I can receive messages from spirit really easily. And I mean, I knew that to a degree, but I didn't have such strong validation for it before. And so she gave me this parting gift of like, yeah, you can absolutely do this. And because her spirit was so easy for me to decipher and distinguish and to hear, it made me realize, like, oh, okay, so this is how you do it. And I have been getting this all along, all my life, most of my life. But I thought it was my thoughts. And so, so that was one of the things that she gave me, as a parting gift. And another big thing she gave me was, at her funeral, like I said, she gave me every single detail of how she wanted it to be, how she wanted it to go. It was so clear. I mean, she really arranged everything from spirit world. And so what I realized, it was at the church that we grew up in, and it's a born again Christian church, very fundamentalist. And, and for me, that religion didn't resonate with me and didn't work for me. But it was a bit challenging and damaging, actually. So we had it at that same church that I had known as a child. But I was able to step out of the spiritual closet there and really allow that medicine woman essence that I have innately to really come out and be seen. And so that was a huge gift, because for so long I was like, oh, I don't want to, I can't be who I am because the religion I grew up in says it's wrong, and my family believes a different way. But then in that, she gave me, I was up there on stage and, lighting Palo Santo and calling in the 4 directions and the opera and doing all kinds of things. And some of it was or quietly, because there were some people that were freaking out. So I mean, I definitely ruffled some feathers, but it was fine, because I was doing it all with love and with my heart, because it was also to, my intention was to honor my sister's life. It was not to convert anyone or to, tell anyone to believe what I believe. It was, this is how I honor my sister in the most sacred way that I know how. So those were the 2 biggest parting gifts that she gave me. And
you said that you had been experiencing kind of this intuition and maybe hearing some communications from the other side your whole life, and especially after, with what happened with your sister, that just became even more clear to you. And so can you share with everybody a little bit about what it's like for you now, like how you're receiving that now and how that's in your life, and anything else that you want to share around that?
And so how it is now, for me, like after my sister's death, I now can really understand how spirit communicates with me, and it can be different, right? We're all so unique. It can be slightly different for each person, but there are some common things, of course. But I feel like, symbolism, metaphor is a big one. And also too, it's, for me, I think I mainly receive the messages through my feeling, my senses, like the feeling, clairsentience, and then also through my thoughts is, I think, the two biggest ways for me. But it's also too, like, so a lot of times it's a feeling, like I can just feel a different energy, a really blissful, a really peaceful, calm energy. And then like a certain message, like, so maybe I'm looking at a tree or, you know, walking down the street or something. And then I can just, a thought comes in and it's just like a really, it's, you know, just a divine message, and it just feels different than my own thoughts. So that's a big way. And then also to communicating through, you know, because spirit communicates through the natural world so clearly. So like, you know, the birds singing in the trees, or the stars twinkling, or the mountains, or, you know, the trees, that's a big one for me, and the ocean. And so, I mean, there's all these different ways that, you know, that it's just like the universe responds to us, and it feels different. There's just a different quality. And also too, like songs, like maybe you hear a song on the radio or on your, you know, Pandora playlist, and it just has a different quality about it. And the words and the message are exactly what you need to hear. And I mean, and so for me, it's just, there's a different quality. And it's also too, like, I feel like, you know, my higher self or my angels are saying, like, maybe I'll overlook something. I'm kind of going quickly through my day, and they'll just slow me down. And it's almost like they're like, no, look at this, you know, like they just kind of like, look at that. And so it's also too, there's just like a ping or a heightened awareness where they're like, you need to pay attention to this. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, so, and I think I'm pretty good about getting those, because it's just, it's almost like somebody calling my name. And so it's just like, I can't not hear my name being called. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm paying attention. But it is something too that I want to expand on more, and that I've made a conscious choice recently that, like, okay, I'm willing, and I do want to open up more and learn more and be of service to people more. Like, so to not shut down my gifts, and to not play small, and not to be scared of them, but to know that I have the capability to handle it, and that I can, if it gets too much, I can control it. So it's also too a thing where I'm moving into a space where I do want to open up more to that. And I think that's probably an ongoing process for the rest of someone's life. So
sure. Yeah, absolutely. You were sharing about, you know, like embracing your intuition, receiving messages from spirit and being open to them. Maybe also embracing your inner medicine woman, and, you know, what's been challenging about that, what's been rewarding about it. Because I mean, I know you're living in a place where it's quite, there are a lot of people around you that are also doing very similar things. And so you're part of a community that on some level is quite embracing of that. But I also know that you spend time in the States and other places. And so maybe, and also you have connections with family back home and whatnot, and people you're working with that may not be as sort of familiar with that.
You know, the most difficult thing, I think, was just the real religion, like the religious, rigid viewpoints of my family of origin. My parents have always been pretty accepting of me, and I was always like the good kid out of the three of us. And so so they did trust me to, you know, they did trust my judgment, and they did know that if I felt called to something, then it couldn't be that bad. So I did feel their support to a degree. I mean, they never said no to me or were harsh or anything, but there was just that always lingering religious belief system that was kind of permeated everything. It was like kind of the backdrop, and you know, it was the belief system that, you know, the structure was on. So, so, I mean, and I've had to do a lot of unraveling of that conditioning for sure. I mean, that definitely gets in very deeply into someone's psyche. So that I would think that's been the hardest part. but for me, like once I really saw like, this is who I am, this is the energy that I was born into this life with, I connect to nature so deeply, and it's so important to me. And, I know that this essence of a medicine woman that I've always felt within me, it's just part of me. It's just as if like having my left arm or my eyes or whatever, like it's just a part of me. And so when that became really clear, then it was easy to be like, this is just who I am. And I have to accept that. And I also have to stand in that essence with confidence and with love, because I mean, that's just who I am.
Right.
So, and I mean, there are a lot of parallels to people like, that are gay or lesbian coming out of the closet. Like, I think there really are a lot of parallels to a lot of people coming out of the spiritual closet, because, there's we all have such a strong need to belong and be loved and to not be rejected. And so there's a big desire to be part of the tribe, be part of the community, and accepted. So I mean, I think that does weigh on all of us to some degree or another, and subconsciously or consciously. So, I mean, once I have, dove deep enough into, like yoga, meditation, and plant medicine, then, I mean, it was so crystal clear. It was just like, this is my life, and this is who I am. And this is the tools and the way that I love to connect to spirit, to God. It is, nature is my church. Ceremony is my church. Like, this is where I go to pray, and that's just who I am. And there's nothing that can change that. So, so I mean, so once I could really see that and accept, I mean, because also too, it's like, what makes you come alive? Does going to the church you were raised in on Sunday morning make you feel alive and connected to God? Then great, go there. But if it doesn't, then that's not your path. Like, that's not where you're getting the most benefit. So once I could really tell, like, this is my path, this is who I am, it became easier. And also too, it's like, you don't have to make any bold statements, or you don't have to, I mean, it's not about telling other people that they're wrong, because there's many paths to God. There's many paths to spirit. So it's just about being secure and confident in your connection, and not trying to change or fix anyone else. And so that, so that was a big, I mean, so that was a big part of it. But as far as the benefits, I mean, there's really a lot. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's like, you're happy, you feel joy, you feel bliss, things flow easier in my life. I was thinking about, I think it was maybe like 5 years ago, when I was like, I would love to have a house in like 3 different countries, and, do ceremony work and retreats with my partner. This was probably 5 years ago or something. And so, and it was funny, because I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty much manifested. Like, we do travel all over the world, and we do get to spend at least a month or 2 in different locations and share. And so it's just, I mean, so it's just things like that, like, so, I mean, so anyways, I think that part of walking a spiritual life is to not be domesticated, is to really, live the life that your heart and soul calls you to, so that, and it may not look like what everyone else is doing, but that's why it's so beautiful. And that's why it makes you feel alive. And so I think that's one of the benefits, is that I can be in risk and uncomfortable situations by most people's standards and not feel fear, because there's such a trust that is developing that everything's going to work out somehow. I may not know how it's going to work out, but there is a solution, and I will find it, because working in that space with spirit, it's like, you don't have to worry. It's just a whole different mindset. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits. And then you're adventurous and you're alive and you radiate. And that's like, you know, then that's like the essence of life, I think.
Absolutely.
Literally, when I first came to Peru, I had quit my office job, and I'd been kind of just traveling around for 6 months, just kind of figuring some things out. And I came to Peru and I had $500 in my pocket, like in my bank account. That's it. But I just knew in my heart that I was supposed to be here. Like, it was so crystal clear. It was so obvious. And I knew that Peru was calling me super strong. And sure enough, like, I was here on a 3-week vacation. And then I did have a contact at a hiking company that I knew from a year before. And we met and they offered me a job. And I mean, I had like it was a great job for 3 years, and I loved it. And it was a great way to get me really stable here and integrated. And, you know, and so it is amazing what you can do, like getting so low on money and then trusting and then surviving. That is such a thrilling experience.
So empowering.
It's so empowering. And it's also too, you just realize that, well, I mean, I made it through that, then I can make it through the next time something scary happens.
Right.
And, you know, and I really think that is, you know, how we are made to be, like the undomesticated wild part of ourselves. And, you know, and so it, you know, we're just playing it so safe these days. And I think that we should just get a little bit wild.
Yeah. I love that. In this whole journey for you, who would you say have been some of the most, who or what has been some of the most influential people on your path?
Yeah. I would say, you know, the first one for me is ayahuasca, the plant medicine ayahuasca. Because, you know, like she is such a teacher. And even though she's in the form of a plant and she's not in a physical body, I mean, it's still, I mean, yes. She's definitely a teacher and mentor. And I feel like that has been hands down the most impactful and most beneficial teacher I've had. Because also too, I think it goes back for me, like the connection to nature, which many people have, because I've connected so strongly to nature. I've hiked 1,400 miles on the Appalachian Trail for 6 months, just carrying what I needed on my back. So it's like that 6 months of sleeping on the earth, you know, night after night, even deepened that connection to the earth even more. So then when plants are involved, there's just a natural relationship. So I would say ayahuasca. And then,
what would you say, Denise, like, okay, so connection to nature, anything else that you feel you really received from your communion with ayahuasca?
Yeah. I feel like she definitely, I remember one of my most vivid journeys, and also the one, like it was in the beginning, was I had been doing yoga for a while by then. And, you know, the concept of oneness is a very big theme or part of yoga, that we're all connected, we're all one, the web of life, and that it's all interconnected. And so I knew that on a mental level, I could definitely be like, yeah, okay, I get that. I understand that. That makes sense to me. It resonates with me. But in one of my first journeys with ayahuasca, I felt like it was this concept in my mind, and then she brought it down to my heart. And I was laying outside in the grass with a blanket, and it was night and the stars were out, and I could feel the earth breathing, and I could feel, you know, the trees and the stars and the galaxies and the sun and the moon and all the insects and all the people that have lived or will live or currently, you know, and I felt that connection, and it was so tangible and so real. And I was like, oh, this is what that means. And so it was very, real, and very obvious. So, I mean, I think that was a big teaching for me from the medicine. And also too, I mean, just, yeah, being present, just being, working through your stuff, like doing your homework and, the assignments that you get in life and the lessons that you get, to be present with that and to really do it, like do the work. Like there's no magic pill. There's nothing that's going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. And, what is that saying? The only way out is through. So you have to, look your stuff in the eye and deal with it. So, so I feel like the medicine's really good with that, because yeah, you're not getting out of this one.
Right. Of course. Was there anything else?
Yoga and meditation have also been really, really big tools as well. Meditation, especially because it was so hard. I mean, because doing the 10-day silent retreats, meditating for like 7 hours a day and no talking. And I was a very outgoing, talkative person, and, had that conditioning of, be outgoing, be nice, be, like extroverted and, talk to fill up the space. And so, so that was a big conditioning to undo. But once I did, it was super liberating. So yeah. And the meditation also as well helped ground and anchor me in so much more, which also was a compliment to the ayahuasca, because sometimes the ayahuasca can feel like it's just like this explosion and lots happening. But if you have an anchor that's going in, then it's so much more grounded and beneficial. Right. So I felt like those two work together really well. And as far as like teachers and mentors, there's been, I kind of feel like, honestly, like just my, like my friends and my partner, Cesar, like everyday people. It doesn't necessarily, I've met Amma before, but I haven't been a devotee, but like, of course she's impactful for me, but I almost feel like it's the people in my everyday life that cause the biggest transformation, because they're the ones that can really get under my skin the most.
Right. Well, you've shared a lot already, Denise, about different ways that you do this, but is there anything else that you want to add about how you connect with your own inner guru? And because clearly you've connected with it. And is there anything in addition to what you've shared that supports you in maintaining that connection and really listening to that inner guru?
Yeah, I would say the other, besides plant medicine, yoga, meditation, I'd also say music, singing, and specifically singing medicine songs. Because what I've seen so clearly is that medicine songs are nutrition for the soul. So they actually feed the soul, literally nutrition. And so the music that is on the radio, again, nothing good or bad with it, but there's not a lot of nutrition there. Like, it's kind of like how you see, like if you were to eat junk food or fast food from a restaurant, there's not a lot of nutrition in it. It will fill you up and it'll get you through, but it's not feeding you in a profound way. So I feel like the medicine songs are just so enriching to everyone. And I also too believe that everyone has a voice, that everyone can sing a medicine song. And I've heard many people tell me that they do want to sing, but they don't have a voice. And I disagree. I'm like, if you can talk, if you have a talking voice, then you can sing a medicine song, because it's all about intention and filtering that song through your heart. And then that's all that needs to be perceived, is your intention through your heart. It's not about how you sing it or how well you sing it. It's about the intention that's behind it. Absolutely. So yeah, so music, I think music is definitely a big way to connect to spirit and in body movement too. So like that, yoga of course is body movement, but also too, like maybe even dancing and just like, being free in that dancing and just moving your body. I think those are, and breath work. See now, breath work too. So like, so breathing, nature, yoga, movement, and meditation. Those are some of my, those are my
and
staples.
medicine. Yeah.
And medicine.
And
Yes.
Yeah. You've got some big stuff going on in your life. And so my next question would be like, what is it that you really feel called to do for others right now in your life, Denise?
And I'm offering a new program, online program called Medicine Woman in the Making. So it is a program to help women connect to their innate intuitive abilities and to basically come out of the spiritual closet and to, live that essence of a medicine woman. And that doesn't mean that they have to change. Like if they are working a 9-to-5 job and they love that and they're married and they have 3 kids and they live in suburbia and they love that and that's where they're meant to be, that's great. Let's just like make that connection to your inner medicine woman, to your inner wise woman, to enhance that life that you have. So because what I've been seeing a lot is that there's so many women that get intuitive messages, that see, auras, or they see, different colors or different things that they can't explain, but they know that they're connecting to something higher than themselves. So, but they just don't know how to fine tune that or how to connect with that, or they feel starved for good, deep conversation with other like-minded women. So this whole program is to help them connect to that and also to connect to sisterhood. So it's going to be also a big emphasis on connecting to sisterhood. And, like embracing our shadow side as well, talking about the mother wound, the witch wound. It's not about abolishing our shadow or our ego. We need it. It's there for a reason. It's about embracing all aspects of ourselves. And also just, being able to feel that they are living their purpose and their mission. Like a lot of women feel that there's something more spiritual they want to be doing with their life. And whether that turns into something like a work type thing, or whether that's just in their own private, connection and rituals at home and offerings and, connecting in their way. And but it's just more about enhancing that spiritual aspect, but then there also are a lot of women that do want to offer something, be an entrepreneur. So it's kind of like embracing all types of women, all aspects, and really celebrating our differences and our uniqueness.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. And can you share with everybody how they can find out about your program?
Yes. So that is a good question. No. So I think one of the easiest ways is to find me on Facebook, Denise Cooper. I'm trying to think, like, it's kind of hard, but I mean, they could, if they're friends with you, they can find me through your friend list. And then also to just email denisefcooper@gmail.com.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's probably some of the easiest right now.
Are there any final thoughts or words of inspiration that you want to offer all the fellow gurus out there?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest one is to follow your heart. Like, if you feel a yes, like if it seems so illogical to go sell all your stuff and go to a retreat in Peru or India, or to just, take a month off work or whatever it is, but your heart, it's so clear your heart is saying yes to do this, then do it. Like it is a clear guidance and message. If your heart says yes, do it, and all the things you need will come to you.
That's very powerful, Denise. Thank you so much for your interview today and sharing all your wisdom and your insights from, following your own inner guru and your truth. And I think it's such a beautiful example to so many women out there. and men too, you know, of what's possible. So yeah, so thank you. Yeah, I really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. Yeah.
I appreciate you too.